Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos from baking Huntington this week. It is hot out there, hot and humid. Although it rained a bunch, it's still hot and not much of a breeze, but the sun was out today. And even though it's hot, it is the middle of July. I can't believe it's already the middle of July. So what do we expect? But it's hot. It is hot. But it's also Shabbos, on its way to being Shabbat, and the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av. So before we get to Tisha B'Av, we'll have Shabbat, and it's great to have Shabbat. Lots to be grateful for this week. But let's start. We have Sam here, and he's going to bench licht. He's going to light the Shabbat candles for us. And he'll begin with the reading on page 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who kindled light, so may we in our own days be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Sam. All right, we'll mix things up a little bit. Page 9. Page 9 for our first responsive reading. There are days when we seek for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain.
On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share.
There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted.
On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation.
There are days when we act as if we care nothing for the rights of others.
On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal.
So we embrace Shabbat, a day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. All right, let's continue welcoming the Shabbos on page 20, Lecha Dodi. I almost said Lecha Naranana, which is part of the Shabbat Psalms. But Lecha Dodi, top of page 20, verses 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, and 9. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Yishmi'anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor ha'bracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Mikdash melech melucha, Kumitzi'i mitoch hafecha, Rav lahak shevet v'yemecha b'cha, V'hu yachamol alaychem la, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nikabela, Ikna ari me'afar kumi, Livshi bigdei tifartei chami, Al yad ben ishai beit halachmi, Korva el nafshi ge'ala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Yamin usmol tifrotzi, V'et Adonai taritzi, Al yahadish ben partzi, V'nihismecha v'nagila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'sohola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Let's turn to page 22, verses from 92, Psalm 92, also known as the Psalm for Shabbat. We'll read the first paragraph in English and then continue with Sadiq Katamar. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzaddik tamar yifrach, ke'erez balvanon yiskeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatrot Eloheinu yafrichu. O jinuvun beseva, deshenim vera'ananim yihiyu lehagi, ki yashar Adonai tzuri v'lo havlatabo. Shalom Aleichem, traditional greeting that Jews give to each other. Shalom Aleichem, peace unto you, and then you reply, Aleichem Shalom. So we're going to greet the angels who come to spend Shabbat with us according to the rabbis. Page 24 at the top. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right, we have welcomed the Shabbos bride or the Shabbos queen. Mystics And the rabbis use that interchangeably, the Shabbos bride or the Shabbos queen. All it matters is that Shabbat is with us. Page 145 will begin Arvit LeShabbat, the evening service for Shabbat, with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadahal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yalmad yivrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bahagala u'vizman kariv v'yemiru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam l'olmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'la min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damiram v'alma v'yemiru amen. Page 146, the formal call to evening worship, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Page 147, we'll read responsively. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom.
Day follows day in succession, and the years vanish as your sovereignty endures.
Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Top of 148, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, B'shofeinu uvkumeinu, Nasiach bechukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'v'mitzvotecha, Le'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayenu v'yorech yameinu, v'yorech yameinu, uvahem neheke yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. V'ha'avatecha al tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol avavcha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol miodecha, v'hayu advarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al-levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shiftecha b'veitecha, Uvlektecha havaderech, uveshokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam liahot al yadecha, vehayu latotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru va'asitehem et kol mitzvotai, V'tem kedoshim leElohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem leElohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 151. Let's read responsively in English. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
If that oneness salutes our grasp, as imperfection evil abound.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
We restrain everyone while we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learn about necessities, time events, and the story of His power that makes for freedom.
Top of page 152. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot osefele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, ze eli anu v'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, uga'alo mi'et chazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai, ga'al Yisrael. Top of 153, Hashkivenu, the prayer asking God to watch over us at night. And we'll sing the first two lines, and then we'll read together in English. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Top of page 154, verses from the book of Shemot, from the book of Exodus. It's not Shabbos without it, it's Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti li'olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz, vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. All right, we are at the center of the evening service, the tefillah, also known as the Amidah, the standing prayer, or the Shmona Esrei, three names for the same prayer. We're going to begin together on 155. We'll chant together 156 and 157, and then silently through the end on 167. And you can chant along with us, read the Hebrew or the English at your own pace, or offer up your own meditative prayer at this time. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yaki tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yaki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor, Ha'nora, El Elyon, Romel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Ha'kol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, U'mevi Goel Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo B'yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Yizrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Metim Atara Avoshia, Morid Hatahal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Metim Berachamim Rabim. Somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekahayeh emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha givoros, uvidom melach, melech mimit umekahayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. Still completing your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We are on page 160, and let's read together in the middle of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Page 163, a little bit of hoda'ah, a little bit of gratitude. Lots to be thankful for this week. I got some good news from a couple of friends. One is a very talented magician in Los Angeles, and he's starting to get gigs again. And so that's good. And another friend of mine, I mentioned last week that her book is being republished, and she's getting a lot of help with that. And she's putting together a conference for something else, and she's getting a lot of great speakers. So it's all been good this week. So it's just about recognizing the good. Hakarat HaTov. Page 163, let's read responsively at the top. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength and truth of the world, with our hearts and our hands, we all praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
All right, and we'll close out the Amidah with the prayer for peace, or a prayer for peace. It's not the only prayer for peace in the Siddur. Top of 164, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol heit u'b'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Let's read the last two lines together. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. All right, we're going to jump ahead to 253, the Mishaberach. If you know someone who needs a little bit of extra healing or comfort this weekend, this coming week, keep them in your thoughts, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, keep them close to your hearts. Middle of page 253. Mishebeirach avotenu mikor habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu Mikor habracha liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. All right. Page 258 and 259, prayers for the community, for our congregation, our country, Yerushalayim, and Medinat Yisrael. And we'll read these together. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us, love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim, Yishlayu Ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'go'alo, Borech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Gulatenu. Again Aleha B'Evrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Oracha V'Amitcha L'Rasheha, Sareha V'Yoetzeha, V'Takneim Be'etza Tova Milfanecha, V'Natata Shalom Ba'aretz, V'Simchat Olam Liyoshveha, V'Nomar Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it your canopy of peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Oops. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. It is a good weekend, a good Shabbos, as we are starting the fifth and final book of the Torah, Devarim, literally the words, or words. It's not even the words, it's words. And it is composed of Moshe's final speeches to Bnei Yisrael. Time has come for Moshe's leadership to wind down, and he takes this time to remind Israel of its obligations, of its covenantal duty, all sorts of things. It has an interesting name it's not an English name, it's actually the Greek name Deuteronomy, which literally means repetition of the law or a second law. And there's lots to be said about how it got that name. But Moshe starts out by commanding the people to conquer the land promised to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Right? That's what the whole trip was for, out of slavery and to the land. He recalls in this week's Parsha 40 years of wandering. He reminds the people of their bickering and their complaining, admits that he was unable to lead all on his own, and so he appointed judges and tribal elders to help, that they should be fair and impartial, and that the hard cases, things that they couldn't handle would be sent back to him. He reminds them of the first time that they were in this position, ready to conquer the land, that they decided to send out spies, and who came back with an exaggerated report. The people sulked and they cried out. They refused to go forward. And because of this lack of faith, that generation would not see the promised land, with the exception of Caleb and Joshua, the two spies who came back with favorable reports. He traces their 40 years of marching in the wilderness, reminds them not to fight with the descendants of Esau, because he is a kinsman. We're not to harass the Moabites. And he reminds them or tells them of the older generation dying out. He instructs the new generation to go to war with Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, if they don't allow them safe passage through the lands. They refuse, those two kings, and they are defeated. And then he concludes this part of his first speech by commanding Joshua to conquer the land of Canaan, the land that we will later call Eretz Yisrael, without fear of its inhabitants. And that's this week's Torah portion in a nutshell. So this weekend, after Shabbat, we'll enter into Tisha B'Av, by far the saddest day on our calendar. I've alluded to any number of bad things that happen to our people on Tisha B'Av. But, as I was thinking about it this week, and I read the news and I reflect on what's going on in the world, the Tisha B'Av becomes very relevant this year. Especially when we start thinking about things like immigration and refugees from other countries. Tisha B'Av, traditionally, if you went to Hebrew school, you were probably taught that Tisha B'Av is seen as a time of mourning, that we are lamenting the end of the temples, we're lamenting that we're not offering sacrifices anymore. But you know what? It's not just about that. If that was what you learned in Hebrew school, and that was all you learned in Hebrew school about Tisha B'Av, then you had an incomplete Hebrew school education. Right? That's what in the Hebrew schools where I taught, that's what we taught the younger kids. Right? We taught them about the destructions of the temple. We talked about the change in Judaism from going from offering animal sacrifices to something a lot different. But Tisha B'Av is really about identifying with the experience of the refugee. The person or groups that are tossed into a hostile world with no shelter or protection. Because after the destructions of the temple or the temples, that's exactly what happened to us. It wasn't that the temples were destroyed and we went about our business and then ultimately rebuilt the first temple into the second temple. We were exiled. We were sent out of the land. We were sent to foreign places. We had no protection. We were just ushered out of the land and dumped in another place. We are the quintessential refugees. And if you think it's just about the temples or about losing the land, it's much more than that. The prophets were already saying that the sacrifices were on their way out. So it's not about feeling bad for the last lack of a sacrifice. And when you look at our practices for Tisha B'Av, it's not really about mourning, although there are some practices that are linked to mourning, but we're not allowed to wear fresh clothes, right? You don't do your laundry on Tisha B'Av. You don't eat or drink. You don't wash at all. You don't wear leather shoes, as leather shoes are a sign of comfort and well-being. And the biggest thing is you're not allowed to sit in a chair. You have to sit on the ground. You have to squat down. All of these are the experiences of the refugee. The book of Lamentations, which we'll read tomorrow evening, It's not about the destruction of the temple. It's about what happened to the people after that. It's about how they were ripped from the land and sent elsewhere. Tisha B'Av's not about the loss of the sacrifices. It's not about the loss of some idealized Jewish unity. You know, whenever we look back in history, the previous generations are always colored in this patina that everything is wonderful, and it's our generations that are problematic, right? Think about when you think of the shtetl, right? It's always in this soft light, and all the Jews are pious, and everybody gets along, and it's Fiddler on the Roof. But talk to somebody who actually lived in a shtetl. It wasn't like that. There were rats. There were mean people. There were sores in the streets, right? And it's the same in the second temple period. They weren't perfect, and there was no Jewish unity because the Sadducees and the Pharisees were going at it left and right, and they had to deal with the Romans, and they had to deal with all these other factions. So there was no united Judaism even back then. So we're not mourning that. That was already gone. We reflect on our times, our people's times as refugees, to help us respond to the needs of current refugees. Not too terribly long ago, we were fleeing Europe. We were refugees. We know what it's like to have countries shut the door on us. Tisha B'Av reminds us that we are refugees. We've been successful as refugees, but we can't ignore them. But it's also a time, if you don't want to be even further depressed by thinking about the current state of immigration and refugees, it's time to think about maybe spiritual refugees. People are looking for answers. People are looking for ways to connect. People who are looking to find meaning in their lives. And how can we, as American Jews, how can we help them? Maybe you're looking for spiritual renewal. Maybe you're a spiritual refugee. What are you looking for? Tisha B'Av is that time to reflect. Tisha B'Av is a time for reflection, but it's also a time for action. We can't ignore refugees. We can't ignore immigrants. We can't ignore our own history. It's time to put reflection into action. As Hillel said in Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Fathers, chapter 1, Mishnah 14, Im ein ani li, mi li. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? Ukesha'ani la'atzmi. And if I'm only for myself, mi ma ani. What am I? Ve'im lo akshav ematai. If not now, when? Indeed, if not now, when? Shabbat shalom and good Shabbos. Sam, what time is it?
Kiddush.
It's Kiddush time. The best time of Friday night is Kiddush time. That's for Shacharit. We don't want that one. We want it for Friday night. There it is. All right, Kiddush for Friday evening. Vayehi erev, vayehi boker, yom hashishi. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivaham. Vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. Vayishboch bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i. Vayikadesh oto kivo Shabbat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Savri Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit. Ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim. Ki banu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 282. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומי. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כתבו בתורתו, וידעת היום להשבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני תמלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. We extend our condolences to Maxine Yeged on the passing of her nephew, Shai Selek, and his funeral will be in Israel. This week, we observed the following yahrzeits: Ida Kaplan, Etta Steinberg's aunt; Maury Ritter, David's brother, Charles's son; Jack Steinberg, husband of Etta, father of Mark, Brian, Paul, Mark, and Adam; Rose Chertow, Bruce Chertow's mother; Pearl Schoenfeld Lewis, relative of the Polans; Herbert Neufeld, Mark's father; Reva Jean Smith Meadows, daughter of Orrin and Imogene Smith and sister of James Morris Smith; Gail Weiss, relative of Bernice Stern, Judith Ann Jeffers Smith, wife of Larry Orrin Smith, and sister-in-law of James Morris Smith. Joe Mendelson, husband of Evelyn, father of Carol, Ann, and Teddy. Mayor Slifkin, Nancy Sher Billig's father. Inga Field, David's mother. Eleanor Lewis, Tom Stafford. Anna Bernstein, relative of Don Hyman. E. Henry Bro, son of F. and Irene Bro, husband of Betsy, father of Susan and Pete. Ben Kaplan, Saul's father. Gert Scar, David's wife, Tom's mother. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us always, and may they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yit Gadol, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Bialma Divrach Hirute, Biamlik Malchute, Bechayechon, Biomechon, Uvchaye, Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv, Bimru, Amen. Yehe Shmei Rabbah, Mevorach, Le'olam, Lomei Almaya. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpahar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shmei d'Kudisha, B'richu, Le'elah, Minkol, Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbachata, V'nechamata, Da'amiram, B'alma, V'yimru, Amen. Yehe Shlama, Rabbah, Min Shemaya, V'chayim, Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, B'rumav, U'ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. All right, friends, we are just about at the close of our service. Just a couple of quick announcements. Service is tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and then tomorrow evening at 8:30 on Zoom. We'll have our Tisha B'Av program, a little bit of study about Tisha B'Av, and then we'll read the book of Eicha, the book of Lamentations, together. And then Sunday morning services at 9 a.m. And then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll have another Tisha B'Av study session where we'll learn about what the rabbis think was the cause of the destruction of the Second Temple. That's part of our Let My People Know Taste of Talmud series. Then Monday night. Monday night, we have our deep dive into Genesis. We're finishing up the first creation story. We're going to be talking about the creation of humans a little bit in that first creation story. And so that's Monday night at 6:30. Then Wednesday night, can't beat it. It's the Little Yiddish Choir, the best Little Yiddish Choir anywhere. Scott and Tam on Zoom. Come on, get your Yiddish on, get your song on, and just have a little bit of fun with Yiddish. And then we'll be back next Friday night. So lots happening. Although Tisha B'Av is not the happiest day, there's lots to learn. And so just want to wish everybody good Shabbos and a Shabbat Shalom. Twisted it up there a little bit. And we'll close out on 3:21. Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'hefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kiklot HaKol Levahado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh Vehu yiyeh b'tifara, vehu echad ve'ein sheni, la'am shelo la'achira, b'li reshit, b'li tachlit, ve'lo ha'oz ve'ha'misra, vehu eli ve'chai go'ali. V'tzor chedli b'yitzara, v'hu nisi umanosli, menat kosi b'yom ekra, v'yahado avkid ruchi, Be'eti shan li'ayira, V'imruchi geviati, Adonai li velo ira. Let's see who says hello tonight. Only one person, David Johnson. Shabbat shalom. Thank you, David. Same to you. Everyone be out there. Have a great Shabbat. Well, Shabbat shalom and a good Shabbos. We'll see you soon, and be careful out there.
Very cool.